Hi, guys. Thanks for joining. Sorry about the timing mix up this morning. I hope everyone is having a good day. Can you guys hear me? I had a little with the sound last week. I think so. Yeah, I think you guys can hear me. Okay. Uh, we can get started. So, thanks for joining. Two of the Thank you to Andy. Okay. So two of the biggest tech companies in the world spent $3.5 billion on the same thing within a 3-day span last week. On June 30th, AWS announced it put $1 billion into a new group called Forward Deployed Engineering. And then July 2nd, Microsoft put $2.5 billion into something called Microsoft Frontier Company. So these two companies that compete on almost everything made the same bet in the same week. And that is that the model inside your workflow is the product. If your team's AI pilots have stalled because before they've paid off, this is why, and it changes what you should be doing on your team starting this week. If you don't already know me, I'm Hadrin Murad. I'm the founder of Sora AI. We build productivity tools for neurodivergent people. And I'm also a creator here on Substack where I publish two newsletters. The first being Between Thinking and Doing, where I design structured AI systems for high performers who are facing execution friction and want to get traction on their complex lives. And then there's the data letter where I teach senior managers, operators, and technical staff how to build with AI. All free subscribers of Between Thinking and Doing get a free friction audit to help you determine what it is that's holding you back from getting your work done. And then all free subscribers of the data letter get an AI readiness checklist that will score just how far along your team is with AI adoption instead of you just guessing. Here are the links to subscribe if you're in the live right now. If you're not, I will link to those in the post when I send the recording. So let's get into it. We'll chat about what happened with Microsoft and AWS and why it should change how you're thinking about the AI project your team's working on right now. And I'll give you a diagnostic to score that project on this week, so you know if it'll pay off or you'll just end up wasting budget on it. So on June 30th, AWS announced it put $1 billion into a new group called Forward Deployed Engineering. The idea behind it is that thousands of AWS engineers embed directly inside customer teams. They work in 45-day pods with 5 or 6 engineers per pod. The pricing for it is fixed and outcome-based, and there aren't any billable hours attached. They already have some major brands running with AWS for deployed engineering right now, like the NFL, Southwest Airlines, Cox Automotive, and the NBA. So AWS engineers go directly into the customer's business and build AI systems inside the customer's own environment. They use the customer's data, follow the customer's rules, and by the time the project ends, the customer owns everything that got built locally, so AWS doesn't take it back. 2 days later, on July 2nd, Microsoft announced the Frontier Company with $2.5 billion behind it. So Microsoft Frontier Company does the same thing AWS just announced, only bigger. So Microsoft is sending 6,000 of its own engineers into large companies to build AI systems inside those companies as operations, using their data, and then leaving completed systems with them when the work is done. And these two aren't alone. OpenAI already started a program called DeployCo, which is backed by over $4 billion. Anthropic did its own joint venture with Goldman Sachs and Blackstone for $1.5 billion. Google Cloud has its own version, and Palantir has been doing this for over a decade at this point. They were the first. So every serious AI company is now spending billions to put people inside customer environments. So what are both of these announcements tell us? It's what everyone has learned the hard way over these past 18 months, that handing a company an AI model doesn't produce business results. So when a company buys a Copilot license, an OpenAI subscription, or an AWS account with AI features, the company keeps operating exactly the same way it did before. Employees have access to a new tool, but their jobs still get done the way they've always been done. So for a company to see returns from an AI investment, someone has to rebuild specific tasks around the AI using the company's own data and their own rules, and for how those tasks get handled. So that has to happen inside the company by engineers who understand both the AI and the business. Every McKinsey report and every enterprise survey keeps saying the same thing, that companies are adopting AI faster than ever. Um, sorry. Faster than ever, but the business impact is barely moving. Companies bought the tools, but nobody is building the tools into the workforce. These days, the top AI models from OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and Microsoft are roughly comparable on quality. Whichever one your team picks isn't going to be the deciding factor in whether your AI investment pays off. The hard part of getting value from AI at a company is the work of connecting the AI to how a specific task gets done at that company. So that means matching the AI to your team's data and your rules for how the tasks get handled and the systems your team already uses to run the task today. That connection work is what Microsoft and AWS are spending billions to solve. And it's the reason they're spending on human engineers rather than on more compute power at this point. The work of matching an AI to a specific company's specific processes takes people who understand both the AI technology and the business it's being deployed inside. AI on your team runs in one of two ways: handed off or embedded. Handed off is a tool your team can access when they think of using it. Embedded AI sits directly inside a workflow. It uses your team's data along with your standard operating procedures, which are the written steps your team already follows to get that specific workflow done, and to produce the next thing that needs to happen. I'll call those SOPs from here on. So it's access versus direction. Access is when someone on your team has to decide in that moment that a certain task is a job for AI, and then they have to figure out how to use it. Direction means the AI is already connected to the work. It picks up the task on its own because it has instructions built in. So nobody on your team has to remember to use it or think about how to use it. Handed off looks like a Copilot or ChatGPT license. It's access without direction. So in this setup, the person doing the work still has to do everything they used to do. They have to remember the AI tool is there, decide when to use it, write a prompt that gets a useful response, and then figure out how to use that response inside the task they were trying to finish. The AI is a separate step the person has to fit off in the work. Embedded looks different. So a request comes into your team's intake queue, and agent picks up the request automatically, checks it against your team's rules, and drafts a response using your team's SOPs. Then a person on your team reviews that draft, either approves it or edits it, and sends it back to whoever asked for it. So human involvement is the last mile of that workflow. Earlier this year, AWS built two products for the NFL called NFL Fantasy AI and NFL IQ. NFL Fantasy AI lets fans ask questions about their fantasy team, and it answers using the NFL's own game data. NFL IQ lets fans dig into player and teams, asking questions the same way they'd ask a friend of theirs. So both of these products are available in the NFL's own apps and websites. They don't have to sign up for fans don't have to sign up for a separate AI service or install another app to ask their questions. So the AI is a feature built into the NFL products the fans were already using. And most of the time, they don't even know they're using AI. They're just getting football answers. or whatever it's called. I don't watch football. So that's what embedded AI looks like. The AI is built into the product itself, so the fan uses it as part of the normal experience. Um, the next time someone on your team pitches you an AI project, ask them first which specific task your team, the AI is going to take, which specific task on your team the AI is going to take on. When the AI is going to handle a task that comes up in a workflow your team already runs every week, the project is worth pursuing. When the AI is set up as a standalone tool that team members need to open on their own when they think of it, the return on that investment tends to come in lower than the team was hoping for. So which model to use is a question you can figure out later once you've got a good answer to that first one. So how do you put this idea to work on your own team this week? Take a look at the work your team is doing and find one type of request that comes in over and over again. It doesn't need to be a big one. Starting small actually works better in this case. Pick something your team fields 10 to 15 times a week that you could describe to a new hire in 3 straightforward steps. If the process is clear enough to explain to a new hire, it's clear enough for an AI agent to take over. And your senior person's job changes from writing prompts or every response manually to reviewing and approving what the agent produces. So how can you check whether the AI initiatives your team are already working on are set up to succeed? A lot of the AI projects your team is looking at this quarter will disappoint you, and the reason usually has less to do with the technology than with how the project was designed from the beginning. So here are 5 questions you can ask about any AI initiative to figure out whether it's designed the right way. If more than 2 of your answers to these come back as a no, the project probably won't produce a meaningful return on what you're spending on it. The first question, does the AI kick in on its own as part of a process your team already runs? Or does someone on your team have to remember to open it up and give it a prompt every time they want to use it? If someone has to remember to prompt it every time, you're asking that person to take on extra effort on top of the work they're already doing. Extra effort like that is the first thing that gets dropped when someone is busy or under pressure at work, and the AI ends up sitting in moments it would have been worth the most. Question 2, does your team have a written SOP for the task the AI is going to handle? Remember, your standard operating procedures are a written set of steps that describes how something gets done. If your team's process for handling this kind of request is written down somewhere, an AI agent can follow it. If the process only exists as knowledge that lives with one senior person, nobody can really build a reliable AI system around it. So that knowledge has to be written down first. Question 3 is about workflow automation. Workflow automation means that one step in a process finishes, or rather, when one step in the process finishes, the next step starts on its own without anyone have to move things along by hand. So the question is, when the AI finishes drafting its response, does that draft flow directly into the next step of the process, or does someone on your team have to copy it, forward it, or move it manually? If someone has to move it, then the AI is only automating one small piece of the team's work, and the rest of the process is still being done by hand. Question 4, who reviews the AI's response before it goes back to whoever asked for it? And how does the review step fit into the AI's workflow? Does the reviewer see every draft the AI produces before the response gets sent back? So a specific person on your team needs to be responsible for reviewing the drafts, and then the review has to be a step in the workflow itself. Lastly, question 5, if the person who reviews the draft is or the drafts is out of office for a week, does the whole process grind to a halt, or is there a backup reviewer ready to step in? A workflow that only works when one specific person is available is going to break the first time that person takes a vacation. You need at least one backup reviewer to that's built into the process, so the workflow keeps running while your primary reviewer is out. Wherever your answer to one of those questions is a no, you found a place where the AI isn't fully embedded into your team's work yet. It's a spot where a person is still doing something the AI should be doing, or where the flow of work depends on somebody remembering to keep it moving. Those are kind of like the pieces of the workflow your team needs to address before the AI investment can produce a return. So before we wrap up today, I do want to go through 3 ways the embedded approach can go wrong, so you can watch for them. You can watch for them on your own team. These are 3 failures that Microsoft and AWS have already said they publicly have run into with their own customers over the past year, and they're the same failure modes you'll run into when you try to embed AI into your team's work. The first failure mode is trying to embed AI before you've written down the SOP. So when there's no written process for the AI to follow, the AI will start making up its own rules and the quality of the responses will drift over time. The way to avoid this is to write down the SOP first, even if the first version you write is rough. The AI needs something clear to follow, and a rough written version is better than nothing. The second failure mode is that your reviewer turns into a bottleneck. So you've saved the person who used to write the drafts about 20 minutes per request, but the person reviewing the drafts now has a stack of them coming in every day. If the reviewer can't keep up, the workflow gets backed up. The way to fix this is either to batch the reviews so the reviewer handles them all at one time each day, or to split the review work across 2 people so no single person is the bottleneck. The third failure mode is that no one owns the AI agent once it's running. It keeps producing drafts, but nobody's checking whether the quality is holding up over time. Then one day a bad response goes to a customer and you realize the agent has been drifting over weeks. I write a lot about model drift on the data letter, and the way to avoid this is to assign someone on your team to own the agent from day one and have them do regular reviews of the quality of that model's output and to update the SOP or the agent's instructions once the quality starts to drift. Every request your team handles that you can describe in 3 straightforward steps is a candidate for embedded an AI agent into it. For embedding an AI agent into it. So is anything your team already has documented as a written process, and so is anything that isn't documented yet, but that you or someone on your team could sit down and document it in a couple of hours. Weekly status rollups are a good example. Vendor onboarding checklists are another. If you can put the process down on paper, you can build the AI into it. So when you embed an AI agent into a repeated workflow like that, the senior person on your team doesn't get pulled out of their deep work every time a request comes in. They only step in at the end to review what the AI has drafted, and their focus stays where it needs to be for most of the day. And Sunday, I'm publishing a piece on the data letter that walks you through the full build for one of those embedded AI agents on your team. In it, you'll get a step-by-step build for a working embedded AI agent that picks up the repetitive knowledge work requests coming into your team, drafts responses to them, and hands the drafts off to a person on your team for review before the information goes out. You don't need Microsoft's or Amazon's budget to build this. You don't need 6,000 engineers or a $2.5 billion operating company behind you. You just need one team lead, one workflow, and the team runs every week, and an afternoon to kind of just like sit down and put it together. So to wrap up, Microsoft and AWS spent $3.5 billion over the course of 3 days last week, telling the entire AI industry the same lesson. AI produces returns for a company only when the AI is built into the way workflows through that company. So the next time someone on your team brings you an AI initiative to consider, the first thing you should ask is whether the AI is going to live inside your existing workflows. Then find one repetitive request your team handles every single week and make that the request the first place you build an embedded AI agent for your team. On Sunday, I'll walk you through exactly how to build that over on the data letter. And yeah, thanks for coming out today. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next week.